We've already seen that you can solve quadratic equations by factorising. Sometimes you get quadratics that you can spend a lot of time trying to factorise them, and in fact they're not factorisable. Not all quadratics are factorisable. So you can use this formula and it'll always work, whereas factorisation will only work if the quadratic is factorisable. So let's have a look at what the quadratic formula is. You have to make sure that you've got your quadratic in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, b could be negative, so you can have negatives and positives in there. So the important thing is that you've got all the terms on the one side and 0 has to be on the right hand side. And the quadratic formula says that if we want values of x, and in this case there could be two, there might only be one, value of x that will, when substituted in, will make that true. The formula goes a little bit, and once again this has just got to be committed to memory. X equals minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so it's the b that's negative, it's not out the front, be very careful with that. Plus and minus, I'll explain as we go. Square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, that will give you go through and just use the plus. That will give you one value. Then you go through and use the minus, and that gives you the two answers. We've seen that most quadratics have two. Alright, maybe before we do this, let's just have a look. We've already done, say, x squared equals 36, and we know that x squared minus 36 equals 0, and you've got x minus 6, x plus 6 when you factorise, and say you've got x equals plus 6 or minus 6. Okay, that's solving using factorisation. What happens if we try to solve this using the quadratic formula? Well, okay, we've got x squared minus 36, so we've got to get it in that form first, so that the right hand side is equal to 0. What's my a value here? A is equal to 1. What's my b? Now it's ax squared plus bx. There are no terms in x there, it's just 1x squared minus 36. So b is equal to 0 and c is equal to negative 36. So using the quadratic formula, you've got x equals minus b, which is just 0, plus or minus square root, now b squared, b is 0, 0 squared, minus 4, a is 1, times c is negative 36, all over, now that square root sign's got to go right across the top, all over 2a, all over 2. Minus 0 is just 0, so we've got plus and minus the square root of 0 minus, now 4 times 36, you've got negative 4 times negative 36, so negative times negative is a positive, 4 times 36 is 144, all over 2, equals, now square root of 144 is 12, so you've got plus 12 on 2, or minus 12 on 2, and plus 12 on 2 is 6, minus 12 on 2 is negative 6. So we still get the same answers as we got up there. In this case, it was a 4-liner to factorise, nice and easy, came out easy peasy, whereas using the quadratic formula, yeah, a bit more involved. It still worked, but not as easy and as straightforward. Okay, so that was just an example. Let's go back and have a look at our example here. We're asked to solve this. Now you could spend a month of Sundays just going, all right, we got 3x and x are the only two factors, and then factors of 4, you could go 4 and 1, 2 and 2, and and then you still find that you're not going to get a satisfactory factorisation. And in fact, it probably doesn't factorise. So let's look at just going straight for the quadratic formula. I like to write the equation out first, then write out the a value, the b value, and the c value. So what is a? Now a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 3. B is the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is not 12, it's negative 12. And the coefficient of c is the constant term, which is 4. We then quote the rule. Now, every time you do one in the tute, if you actually write this formula out, it's a good way to learning it. Minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a equals minus b is minus 12. So I'll put that down. Plus or minus square root negative 12 squared b squared minus 4 times the a value is 3, c value is 4, all over 2 times 3. Now you'll be able to probably take some shortcuts eventually, but I thought I'd put everything down just as we're starting here. And just to try and make a bit of room for the bottom there, I'll actually go across the page. I should be going down. So minus 12 is plus 12, plus or minus square root of minus 12 squared is 144, minus 4 times 3 times 4 is 48, all over 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so what do we end up with? So we've got 12 plus or minus, now this is 96, 144 minus 48, so square root of 96, all over 6. I think if you're asked to give your answer 2 decimal places, you can work that out. If you're asked to give your answer the exact answer, we should simplify square root of 96. And I think that what will go into 96? 16 will go into 96. So we can actually do some simplification of surds here. Is 12 plus or minus root 12, root 16. 16 goes into 96, root 6. All over 6, which is equal to 12 plus or minus square root of 16, so that's 4 root 6 all over 6. Now, a couple of little traps here is that number one, we should not cancel that 6 with that 12. So what we've got to do is, if we're going to do some cancelling down, try and factorise the whole top line. So that's a 12 there. So are there any factors? Well, 2 will come out. So we've got 2, open bracket, 6 plus or minus 2 root 6 all over 6. Now 2 will cancel. So we get 6 plus or minus 2 root 6 all over 3. Once again, that 3 will not cancel there. If you're asked to use, to give your answer to 2 decimal places, you'd have to go 6 plus 2 root 6, press enter on your calculator, then divide by 3. Or you can go 6 minus 2 root 6, press enter, get an answer for the top, then divide by 3, and that'll give you the other answer. So that's using the quadratic formula to solve quadratics.